Hello nerds, it's September 8th, 2009, and this week's theme is alter ego. I'm sorry that I don't have an actual alter ego for you guys to talk to, due to the limits on my computer's memory and how I can edit. It just wasn't feasible, and I'm sorry, because I had a really good idea, but I couldn't do it. I apologize. Eventually, I will get a computer that doesn't suck. Until then, you're going to have to put up with probably less than the best videos, and I'm sorry. So, instead of actually having an alternate personality, I thought I would talk a bit about them. You may remember back in July that we had a multiple personality week where we were supposed to have 2 different personalities. And my video that I originally made for that talked about multiple personality disorder / dissociative identity disorder, where it comes from, how people get it, and how it's treated, etc., etc. But that video was what was on my hard drive when it crashed and it was lost. So now you get to get some of the information now. Some of the first theories on personality came out in the early 20th century. Some of the most well-known work was done by Freud before there were actually personality tests and such. He believed that there were 3 divisions to the conscience. The id, which dealt with basic desires, pleasure-seeking, and avoidance of pain. The superego, which was the higher consciousness that tried to act in accordance to social morals and religious law, and the ego, that tried to mediate between them. Now, it's generally not used today. There's not much to back it up, and let's just face it, Freud was kind of a quack. He said a lot of things that we've disproved since, and a lot of it is just, quite frankly, kind of perverted. Really, the only thing that survives from him is some semblance of psychoanalysis, which has had to be rewritten over the years because it's kind of screwed people up. Later, as years went on, certain diseases such as dissociative identity disorder, dissociative fugue, all came about, and there was a lot of research done on it because of its connections to self-shock and other diseases associated with those who came home with war. The most famous case of which probably is the Sybil case. Now, I'm not sure if you guys have actually read Sybil or watched Sybil, as I've done both actually, but there's a lot of controversy with Sybil's case. Sidebar: Sybil and the psychoanalyst who analyzed her and worked with her both came from Kentucky, or eventually moved there. You know, because we produced so many crazy people. Sometime during the late 1960s, early 1970s, I want to say, they decided to compile a book with all the disorders that they knew about, along with standardized names, so that psychologists would not diagnose them with something that people didn't have. And this book was called the DSM. Now, for those of you psych geeks out there who actually know what the DSM is, you also know that we're on the DSM-4, I believe. Actually, there's a DSM-5 out, but I believe DSM-4 is still most widely used. Dissociative disorders were not given a whole lot of space in that one because the type of stuff that psychologists were mostly dealing with on the daily basis was stuff like anxiety disorders, cognitive disorders, dementia, Alzheimer's, that kind of thing. It's grown over the years because it turns out that it's more common than we originally thought, but it's also less common than a lot of people thought at the same time. The United States leads the world in cases of dissociative identity disorder by like hundreds. Now, I don't know if that says something about our sexual abuse rate, or just that we really like diagnosing people with dissociative identity disorder. It's generally believed that we just like diagnosing people with dissociative identity disorder. What causes dissociative identity disorder is generally abuse in early childhood. And the child is generally very, very smart because they have to be able to compartmentalize their experiences and then give them faces, personalities, and names. It's generally not recognized in early childhood because that personality has to remain silent to keep their secret. They don't generally come out until adolescent, adult years because that's generally when they're away from the abuse and it's safe to kind of, poke their head out. The goal is to eliminate the needs of as many personalities as possible so that they can integrate into one whole personality that keeps the person going and doesn't distract them from working their life. All in all, it's a very, very interesting, complex disease that we like to make up as something that just anybody can have. If you're interested in more information / you want a good story, I would highly recommend First Person Plural. And I don't remember the author because I lent my book to my friend who had to read it for psychology, and she never gave it back. Really good book, and it talks more about it. And if any of you guys are still trying to get to 50 books by the end of the year, or perhaps 100, that's one to put on your list. Pretty much it, guys. I'll talk to you guys later.